Sean, don't be a moron.
That is the definition of a buyout. Probably.
No.
So you don't know.
If you'll stop yelling, I'll explain it to you, you idiot, all right? Sean,
That's
you're not this fucking stupid. I'm not calling him an idiot. What I'm saying...
You're calling me an idiot.
Sometimes you talk and you don't necessarily understand everything, Sean.
Oh. I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
But you just said you do. You just said you do.
I don't know. We lost viewers, probably because you're rude.
It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Shawn Ross Sapp.
And we're live.
Whoa! What's
Wow.
up, you guys? Melissa getting those reps in. Those first string reps.
I was going to say, Nigel upped his estrogen.
Yeah, man. This show brought to you by omg.com. Check out our friends over at omg.com. Of course, you all have heard us talk about that on previous shows. I got sent a jar, and it was magnificent. Fried some pork chops in it the other day. Going to make a steak in it later. It is incredible. Check them out, omg.com. Let them know you heard from it or heard about them from us at OMG Butter on Twitter. Jimmy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sapp.
Hello, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you, sir?
Very sensitive.
You are very sensitive. I was kind of the heel last week. I told you this off the air. I was kind of the heel last week. And I have 3 comments that I'm going to make. 3 regarding the
I'm
debate.
sure this won't take any time at all.
Oh, it's going to take at least 10 minutes. So I have 3 comments I'm going to make regarding the little debate that we had last week, Sean. And my voice is kind of shot. I think I'm under the weather a little bit. I don't know.
Probably from where you screamed at me last week.
Well, I was screaming at some contractors upstairs, too. So maybe that has something to do with it. But I feel like I'm a little under the weather. So here's my first comment, Sean. And I said this to you off the air last week. I'm going to say it again. I apologize to you, Sean, for some of my childish behavior with some of the words that I used. Now, in retrospect, when I think about it, we've talked about this before. Day to day in the office, I'm not accustomed to people raising their voice at me and cutting me off when I talk and stuff like that. And I think it annoyed me a little bit because I'm just not accustomed to it. But I told you when we started this thing, you have carte blanche. You can say what you want, no repercussions. And so it was unprofessional of me to talk like that. I pride myself on not typically talking to people like that, especially people on payroll. I think Melissa and Nigel would concur. I'm usually pretty good, usually.
Oh, yes.
So so I felt kind of bad about that. So that's the first comment that I wanted to make. The second one was watching back our little debate last week, Sean. I watched it back.
Did you watch it back, or did you watch my brilliant intro that you banned?
It was the unauthorized and unapproved version that you did.
It's up on our YouTube, guys. You should check it out.
Yeah, I didn't even get to review it first for approval. So yeah, it's unauthorized, unsanctioned.
That's good.
Watching back our debate, I will say, Sean, technically you were right last week. Technically you were right when you were talking about, and I don't say that very often. My wife is probably listening to this going, my God, because I never say that, right? And he just had an orgasm. Did you see that?
God.
So
I gotta excuse myself.
Is the ghee that good?
It's so good.
So technically you were right when you were talking about the legalities, and I just want to explain this for a minute, and I noticed on social media that a few people understood my point, but I think I did a really poor job of explaining my point.
I got your point.
Did you get my point?
Yeah, I got your point.
I felt like I did a poor job explaining it, and again, it could be because, you cutting me off and stuff and just annoying me a little bit. So I just wanted to very simply explain my point, and my point very simply was, when you have a billion-dollar enterprise like WWE with unlimited resources and with high-powered attorneys and with a CEO that has a past reputation for cutthroat backroom deals and for threats and for intimidation and for ultimatums and for bullying, all I was going to say was, in that situation, if they wanted to be dicks to a small outfit like MLW And if they wanted to make their lives miserable to get their way, they could. And that was really all I meant. And so I kind of disregarded your legal argument because I wasn't thinking about it in terms of legalities. But that doesn't mean you were wrong. So I wanted to say that.
Well, I'll say the right type of offer could make anybody jump. I mean, how did you pull me from, at the time, the most visited wrestling website in the world? Cash money.
Yeah, but that was still done legally. I've seen a lot of things
That
in
was
business.
done legally, yeah.
I've seen
I
things
was
done in
without a
business
contract.
myself that were not exactly on the up and up. And that's kind of the real world, I guess. But that was my second point. Here's my third point, Sean. You're going to like this one, man.
You found Mike awesome.
Wow.
And Nigel
I
knows.
did.
Nigel knows
did
that
you
he's.
see the intro?
Yeah, but
No, I didn't.
So what
I found him.
Sean is trying to he's trying to pat himself on the back, saying I thought he had a contract and he didn't. But what I told Sean off the air is the Mike Awesome thing wasn't the epicenter of my point. It was a bad example. That's what it was. But I'm going to move on to my last comment, and I was going to hold on to this one for a few weeks. But under the circumstances, I think I'm just going to talk about it now. So one of my personal flaws, Sean, is that I'm not always the best when it comes to patting people on the back and saying job well done and stuff like that. I'm not always the best at that. I think I've told Melissa that I think she does an awesome job, on occasion. I think I've told Nigel that he does an awesome job on occasion. I think I've told you do an awesome job on occasion. But I'm not the best at always kind of emphasizing it. And so I wanted to tell you, Sean, that I appreciate the time you put in and I appreciate the work that you do. Yeah, you're overly sensitive, but I appreciate the work that you do. And so here's what's going to happen. Wednesday, August 22nd, and it's ironic that it's a Wednesday. Wednesday, August 22nd is going to be the date of our annual luxury box at the Blue Jays game. I'm going to go ahead and fly you and your wife in again for that game. Wow. And we'll have to figure out the date you want to come in. I'm going to get you a driver, and I'm going to send you guys to Niagara Falls for a night.
Hot dog.
Yes, because Niagara Falls is something that we, and I think you guys will agree with me, we kind of take it for granted.
Oh, I'm there
Right?
every weekend. Oh, you guys are crazy.
Oh, sure.
I am. My boyfriend's parents live over there.
Okay,
We go
I mean,
all
that
the
makes it different. That makes it different.
I went in February.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That kind of, and I take it for granted too, because I've been there 1,000 times because the casino's there. So I take it for granted, but people that aren't from the area, it is like a wonder of the world. And so you guys I'm gonna send you there for a day, spend a night up there, and you're gonna have fun. And there you go, Sean. So basically, here is the how things
I know what
end
you did.
from
Listen,
the debate.
listen. You're not fooling me, Jimmy.
What?
I know what you're doing.
What?
You're like, okay, I got in an argument with the top guy of Fightful, my top guy. He talks a lot.
Was Jeff Hawkins on the thing last week?
He did great analysis of the Colt Cabana stuff last night.
Oh, that's good.
So, he talks 30 hours every month for me. How can I get him to shut the fuck up? I will be so kind and generous to him that it will leave him speechless. I know what you're doing. I'm on to you.
It'd be easy for me to get you to
And
shut
I'm
the
not
fuck
going
up,
to
Sean.
stop taking this tone because it will mean that I am wrong in some capacity. But I thank you.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I've
appreciate
actually, if I'm being honest with you, Sean, I've already had this booked for months. And Melissa and Nigel both know we've had the Blue Jay game booked for months.
Yeah.
And I was planning the whole time to bring you up, but I just wanted to let it wait a little bit. And I like throwing in the little jabs about if I ever bring you to Toronto again, I would throw that in. But in reality, I've known for probably 3 months that I was going to do this.
Son of a bitch.
And it's ironic that it's on a Wednesday, which means that we'll have to probably do our show on the Thursday, probably that week.
Yeah.
But then we can throw in footage from the game.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
I am very excited. I love Toronto, even though the people there think that I'm sensitive.
Oh, we know you're sensitive.
If Canadians are telling you you're sensitive, Sean,
Yeah.
you might have an issue.
And we're like the
Well,
nicest people in the world.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're sensitive. Because here's the thing. Canadians never experience anything that would make them sensitive. They don't have to deal with the Mike Clitorises of the world, Jimmy, very often. Like your boy does.
Uh-huh.
I'm very excited. That's actually, I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh my God, is that the week I have a wedding? It's the week after I have to be in a wedding. So that works out great. I'm
It's
very
cool
excited.
because I would have just told you to cancel the wedding.
Yeah, well, it's my wrestling coach, and he can break my neck. So
No, that's cool. So we'll set that up. I'll talk to you about dates and stuff. We'll set that all up.
Alex Anderson, who was on our members only podcast today, he's not having any of your apology.
Oh no?
He said you're using a pre-planned thing to apologize. Hashtag fake apology. Are Nigel and Melissa getting raises? Quality of the show has gone up a lot with them at the helm. I gotta say, the engagement on our show has improved significantly since Melissa has become second string producer, essentially.
Really? I don't know if she'll be in here every week forever.
Yeah, see?
I can't guarantee that because she's busy.
Yes.
She's here now learning because Nigel's taking vacation next week, so that's why she's in here right now.
I have people warning me that you're just setting me up for a heel turn.
Okay, I was dying at that comment. I was waiting for you to acknowledge it.
Maybe there's going to be a chair shot on August 22nd.
I'm excited. I love Toronto. It's a beautiful city. It's the week before my birthday, actually.
Oh, yeah? When's your birthday?
Yeah.
August 30th.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, it'll be fun, and August is a great time of year in Toronto. And hell, I might even have you at my new house for a night, Sean. We'll see.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm excited. I appreciate it. I don't appreciate you trolling me. But you are one of the
Don't you love the
clitorises
lack
the
of
world.
gratitude on that? Isn't that something?
You are one of the Mike clitorises of the world, Jimmy.
I don't even know if these guys know what you're referring to, but we'll get to it.
It was introduced into court.
I know, but I don't know if they...
Important.
We'll get to that in a minute. There's one more thing I want to talk about before we move on. So a few months ago, we had the infamous, for anybody that listens to our show regularly, infamous debate, pancakes versus waffles. And it was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that pancakes are better. And everybody knows it. IHOP made an announcement on June 4th, and I don't know if you heard about this one. Nigel's got the screenshot, the Twitter screenshot. I'm sorry, Melissa.
Melissa's got
I'm
the
sorry,
screenshot. Melissa.
It's funny now because when I look over, I see Melissa now. She's got the Twitter screenshot, and she's going to put it up. And here's the quote from what IHOP said on their Twitter. For 60 pancaking years, we've been IHOP. Now we're flipping our name to IHOB. Find out what it could be, with the letter B, on June 11. Now, I think breakfast. You think bacon? Think it could be bacon?
No, okay. I thought it was like for a day.
It sounds
No.
like they're changing their name.
Yeah, probably breakfast then.
I was thinking breakfast. What do you guys think? Melissa, what do you think? Don't give me dead air. What do you think?
I was a little concentrated on something else.
What were you looking at?
Wirecast.
Oh, okay. You're just learning. I'm sorry. Okay, Nigel, IHOB. What do you think the B stands for?
It's got. I would say either bacon or breakfast. That would be my guess. Because
Now-
bacon is like.
I never thought about if this could be just a short-term promotion or if it's going to be like completely rebranding. I never thought about that.
If
It
it
came
is a
off-
rebranding, I think it's like breakfast or something.
Right.
And even breakfast is a little, I don't know, little limited.
Yes.
I used to do grappling tournaments for the Ohio Grappling Challenge, and they changed their name to the American Grappling Challenge because they didn't want to seem so regional. They didn't want to seem restricted.
Right.
I could see them doing this, but yeah, IHOB. Wow.
IHOB. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a harder name to say, so I still think it's just a promotion and that it won't be forever. But the way they wrote it for 60 pancake in years and all that, I guess we'll see. But I wanted to bring that up when I heard about it.
I have eaten more pancakes over the last since that argument and crepes than I did in years before, just because I started to get paleo pancakes, but we got a waffle iron,
Well,
so I
because
cut that
pancakes
shit
are
out.
better. Yeah, because pancakes are better. So
The crepes were okay.
Let's move on to CM Punk. So I'm sure most people that listen to the show have probably heard about this now. He was victorious in the defamation case against alongside Colt Cabana against Dr. Chris Amon, who's WWE's doctor. I didn't follow every single detail of the case. I understand that the lump was the big thing and whether it existed and all that.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is this. I heard some of your post-SmackDown podcast this week, and I heard Jeff say he thought that that the jury was going to find in favor of Chris Amon. That actually surprised me when Jeff said
Me
that.
too.
I thought for sure Punk and Cabana were going to win, and here's why I thought Punk and Cabana were going to win, because it was a jury trial. I think if it had been strictly based on a judge, Dr. Amon had a better shot, my personal opinion. Because it was a jury trial, my opinion is it was going to be difficult for him to prove that the podcast did damage to his reputation when he got promoted after the podcast dropped.
Oh, yeah, his professional reputation particularly.
Right. So to me, that was going to be a very hard sell. And then on top of that, the fact that he was looking for $1 per listener of the pod in damages. Yeah. So almost $4 million in damages. I thought it was going to be a very tough sell. And so when they came back after 2 hours in favor of Cabana and Punk, that didn't surprise me one bit. Now, I will say one thing. I heard that some of the jurors afterwards were approaching Punk and Cabana and shaking their hand. Is that true? That's weak.
That's what was said. And if so, that's iffy. As I mentioned off the air, I didn't want the person filming the interview with CM Punk to refer to him as CM Punk, my friend. I don't like that.
Oh, because Steve did that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the only. Well, and he filmed vertically. Shout outs to you, Steve. But I don't like the palling up with people from a media perspective as best as I can. Right. I mean, there are people I interview. Obviously, sometimes that happens. I mean, but we don't like, hey buddy, and jurors doing that.
Yes.
Who are supposed to uphold the legal system. That's completely different than media ethics. That's that's particularly egregious.
Yeah, it's like they somehow were able to get a bunch of wrestling fans. Yeah.
I hate the term marks, but
yeah,
kind of what it sounds like. There was, as you mentioned, he didn't suffer professionally from this, and I thought Jeff brought up a good point. In order to do that, you would have had like an active wrestler or a former wrestler who's not there anymore come in and say, yeah, we lost faith in him professionally after this.
And I think that was his claim, right?
Yeah,
that was his claim, but there's no proof.
Yeah, that would have been a very slippery slope because then I think that does some real rough things for any potential concussion lawsuit that could arise later on, because CM Punk, right after, as you all will see, straight up said he was forced to wrestle with concussions.
Yeah, which is brutal.
He said that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, but when you get promoted and you didn't suffer financially, professionally from that's a hard sell. Now, I'm sure, and I know, 99% of wrestling fans had no clue who Chris Amon was. I covered wrestling full time at that point, and I barely knew who he was. Maybe had seen his name in passing once, but I was well aware of who he was after that podcast. However, as the term Mike Litteris as was introduced by CM Punk and Colt Cabana's attorney, what does the opinion of the Mike Litterises of the world mean? Because they called Twitter an open window in a kitchen that anybody can scream into or out of. I thought that was, as ridiculous as it sounds, it was kind of important, especially for us as podcasters, too. What we can say, what we can't say, things like that. And Punk was largely sharing his story, and there were just, it was an uphill battle for Amon straight out the gate when his attorneys were claiming that no lump on CM Punk existed. I was like, man, I don't even know how you could even pretend there wasn't. He was on a radio show in December of 2013 showing off the spot for the love of God.
And all the video clips they showed, it was essentially on his ass.
Yeah.
So all the clips they showed of him in the ring, you're not going to see it.
Yep.
Right? Because remember, they zoomed in on some of the match footage. You're not going to see it.
Man.
Right?
So after CM Punk did that podcast, I was working for another outlet, and the guy who ran the website posted the video WWE sent us, and even he thought it was ridiculous. He was like, yeah, WWE sent us 4 minutes of ass shots. Here you go. Right. And they zoomed in on his ass repeatedly. And Punk had to clear that up and say it was about the star level of my trunks.
Right.
Now, when you're dealing with that area, it is kind of an in-between type of thing. Like, it's very close, and I'm sure that the thing grew to probably where he thought it was his back and his ass. Like,
and probably very uncomfortable sitting, I bet. Based on the location,
Back bumping, imagine that.
Yeah.
Or taking hits into the turnbuckle.
Yep.
And for Chris Amon's attorney to pretend that didn't exist when you have massage therapists and AJ Lee and texts from Zack Ryder who was concerned about it, all this stuff, man, I think that did them in. The one situation in which I sympathized a bit for Chris Amon in was when they showed some of the tweets, and that was a handful of them. Those people probably didn't have a clue who he was before that. And their first impression of him is that he is a quack, essentially. but I don't know that didn't necessarily affect him professionally. It affected him personally. I'm sure his argument was essentially, this ruined Thanksgiving for me.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's you can't win a lawsuit based off that.
Have you heard anything about plans to appeal?
I have not, but by the way that CM Punk and Colt Cabana made it sound, it didn't even sound like they wanted to recoup defense costs.
They just want to walk. Yeah.
They just want to walk. Speaking of, I mean, we can go right into it. CM Punk, here's our discussion with him after that ruling.
Steven Milhausen here with CM Punk, and how do you feel, my friend?
I would never be able to describe how. I mean, I'm happy. I'm super happy. I'm relieved. I'm happy for Colt Cabana. My friend Scott first and foremost. I'm happy for me second. I'll always protect my friends and my family before me.
I was watching you after it ended, and they announced the verdict, and it seemed like 1 million pounds were lifted off of your shoulders, and that's what it felt like to me. Was that the?
Yeah, this has been, in a word, I think it has been pretty frivolous, and I'm shocked it made it this far. But I was always confident because all I had to do was tell the truth, and in the end, I'm super grateful towards the jury for coming to the correct verdict. But still being in court is nerve-wracking. So the fact that this is all over, and I'm hoping it's all over, and I hope I never have to talk about it again, and I never have to hear certain names and certain words, and I don't have to relive me being forced to work through concussions anymore and hear people's testimony about it. I'm just happy it's over. It's a good day.
Happy, one of the happiest days of your life, knowing that now this chapter of your life, the WWE life, is officially over.
I mean, if we can 100%, without a doubt, say that, yeah, this would be one of the happiest days of my life. But I'll always be looking over my shoulder, I think.
I know we're going to be talking in a few days for Media Day coming up on Thursday, but just real quick, how are you feeling fight-wise? You look in fantastic shape, so it feels like everything's going as planned right now as we head to this.
I feel good and I look good.
Definitely look good.
I'm not trying to cut a promo or anything, but I think in a weird way, this trial made me even more ultra focused on what I have to do on Saturday.
Congratulations. I'll see you Thursday.
Thank you.
So CM Punk obviously very relieved. And another thing, and I'll write about this in the Fightful Wrestling Weekly this Friday, there were questions about the friendship of Colt Cabana and CM Punk perhaps dissolving because of this. And I know that through the grapevine, Colt Cabana was very, very stressed about this because he doesn't have $4 million laying around.
Yeah.
And maybe CM Punk does, because CM Punk made the reference before. He's like, I can't remember if it was $10 or $20 million, and how people said, you can't live off $20 million the rest of your life. And he's like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
I can't live off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So included, and that was before the UFC deal, right before the UFC deal. So we don't know how much money is in there. He seemed very relieved. I was surprised to hear him say that it made him more focused on this week's UFC 225 fight. But if so, good for him, man, because I think he needs a win here, just almost for his legacy. A win over Mike Jackson really means nothing, but for his legacy as a performer, essentially, I think it's important that he picks up an MMA win.
I find myself rooting for him just because he had to deal with this shit.
Yeah.
And like Cabana's interview, I'll tell you something about Colt Cabana. He has never made a ton of money. He's made a living for himself. He's never made a ton of money. The legal fees alone probably were a hit for him financially. I remember years ago, do you remember when Daniel Bryan did the DVD with him, and it was right before Daniel Bryan was going to WWE? Do you remember that?
Wrestling Road Diaries. I actually interviewed Colt for the third edition of that. I think it was about a year ago.
Okay, so I bought that at the time when it came out, and when I got it in the mail, the return address was written in pen, Scott Colton. Like he did all that himself.
Yeah.
And that's how he's been able to eke out a living all these years. You know, he's really had to hustle. I have a lot of respect for him. And he said on his video, he was 34 when this started, and he suspected it was going to be a few years. Now he's 38. 4 years they've been dealing with this shit.
Yeah.
So
he's a very versatile guy, and I think that increases longevity in wrestling because he's doing color commentary for Ring of Honor, and he's awesome. He's one of the best color commentators in the world right now. He wrestles for them sometimes. He still does a lot of stuff on the independent circuit, but he was really ahead of the curve in doing those wrestling road diaries things that those are real good. And the podcasting, man, was he was ahead of the curve with that too. And obviously the Punk one, I mean, I personally listened to the Punk podcasts I think 3 times just because they're interesting to listen to. It's almost a part of wrestling history, those podcasts. And now I refer to, I think it's the week of Thanksgiving, the first week of December, without fail every year across MMA or pro wrestling, some big interview drops. And for a couple of years in a row, it was actually John Jones after he fucked up. He would do his first interview then, but that really launched that in my estimation. Those series of Punk interviews that week, it's a prime time for big interviews and big news that doesn't usually happen. But
I'll tell you something interesting. That Punk interview, I'll always remember it because it dropped the day before my daughter was born.
Oh yeah,
there goes my phone.
What is going on?
I forgot to mute it. So that interview dropped the day before my daughter was born, and I actually listened to it in the hospital while my wife was in labor. Because it was a long labor. So I actually listened to it in the hospital. So I'll always remember that. I want to ask you this now. So Punk, he had to deal with this court case. He had to deal with cutting weight. He had to deal with training. He's got fight week this week. Saturday he's fighting Mike Jackson. What's your prediction on that? Like, do you think... I'd like to know how his training could have gone. Obviously, he's in a really good gym with Rufus Sport.
Yes.
But
3.5 years.
How do you think he's gonna do? I mean, obviously, Mike Jackson has been around longer than he has. But it's not like he's exactly been crushing it as a professional either. So what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, there's so many question marks surrounding this. It was hard for us to predict it, but we did do predictions on the Holy Smokes MMA podcast, myself and Showdown Joe. So the thing with CM Punk, he's 40 years old, Mike Jackson's 33.
Is he 40 now, Punk?
Yeah, he's 40.
Shit.
And there are very few. There are maybe, you can count on one or two hands the number of 40-year-old fighters that are in the UFC right now. And you can definitely, I don't think there are any that don't have any UFC wins. Like they were in there well before. Mike Jackson's a lot younger, and one of the things that's kind of stuck in me that Mike Jackson said is, "Oh, he can't catch up to my level." And I was like, man, no offense to you, but you have no wins as a pro. You have 4 wins as a boxer, but the combined number of wins over those opponents is 0. None of those fighters that ever won boxing matches. Meanwhile, CM Punk is training with Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley and the Pettis brothers. He's seeing people that are the absolute best in the world, no pun intended, without knowing. I mean, I've never really been able to see CM Punk's skill set. They don't allow cameras in there.
Who's Jackson training with?
I feel like I don't know who he trains with. I'll have to look.
Okay.
I think he fights out of Houston, but I don't really know who he trains with. I mean, and he fought a Muay Thai bout last year and lost by a decision. He's got 1 amateur win. It was by split decision, and that was 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's tough, yeah.
So,
and Mickey Gall beat them both in a minute, right?
Beat the brakes off of both of them. I mean, Mickey Gall beat CM Punk lasted longer against Mickey Gall than Jackson did. Jackson got beat in 45 seconds.
Right.
It's too hard. I mean, I would like to see CM Punk win.
I would really like to see him win too.
For the site.
Just dealing with the shit he's been dealing with. Just based on that alone, I'd like to see him win. So we'll see what happens. Let's move on.
There's no benefit for me professionally if Mike Jackson wins.
No, you're right. Let's move on. I want to talk about Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
So isn't it ironic? So the guy retired 8 years ago, WrestleMania 26. He's 52 years old now. He was asked repeatedly over the last several years to come back. They wanted to do a program with him and Daniel Bryan because he trained him. I think they asked him to be in the Greatest Royal Rumble. He's been asked several times about coming back, and he always said, once I said I'm retiring, I'm staying retired. I'm sticking to my word kind of thing. And all of a sudden, the bug bit him, Shawn. Probably because he's been helping at the Performance Center, probably.
That's what Triple H said in an interview that we covered, is that he didn't really have a passion for the business, didn't want to move, didn't want to do anything like that. And then I published a report after the New Orleans takeover. He helped with that ladder match, no surprise. That was amazing, and he does a lot of great work there, and I get rave reviews for his production work. It's really good. Like, he and Tyson Kidd get the most positive reviews of anybody's production work across the two the two main roster and NXT. And Triple H said it's given him a passion for the business again.
And it makes sense. It makes sense. Well, he did an interview with Sky Sports. He said he's open to returning for a one-off match. He said it wouldn't be anything longer than that. He gave names like Daniel Bryan or AJ Styles or maybe even Johnny Gargano, which is interesting. And here's a direct quote from the interview. He said it could be possible, but people would have to accept they wouldn't be getting the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania, and that I'm 52 years old now. I mean, if you see him, he's still in great shape.
Oh,
and
gosh.
I bet you at 52,
the WrestleMania.
What's that?
Remember the WrestleMania where Vince...
Yeah, with Austin,
Vince messed with him.
Yeah.
And he said... he was like, oh, everybody's going to come out in their gear.
Yeah.
You got to look good. And Steve Austin came out in a T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then he realized Mick Foley just shows up in what he wears anyway. And then Shawn Michaels came out shredded.
Yeah.
And he said he was taking in like 1,200 to 1,300 calories a day for that spot. That is an all-time great rib from Vince McMahon in my estimation. And I think he did that maybe to try to put the bug in it then.
Yeah. Well, he's kept physically he's kept it up. And he looks great, and I bet you at 52 he can still go. I bet you. So
give me a hobbled Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
I think that's a hell of a story to tell.
Yes.
That he's not the showstopper anymore. That he's not the main event anymore.
Right.
Because you have AJ Styles begging him on WWE programming, table for three, to work with him.
Right.
And I want to say, man, big ups to AJ Styles for when he tried to make it happen.
Right.
Because he was brand new to WWE, essentially. He hadn't been there very long. And he was just like, can we get him? How about you all pay to get him? How about we do that? I think that's ballsy on an AJ Styles part to be able to say, hey, Vince, shell out some money. Go get this guy. I want to wrestle him. I want to see Daniel Bryan and Shawn Michaels happen. I don't care how old Shawn Michaels is. I know a lot of people have issues with it, but considering the fact that we're seeing a big gas push, I don't care.
I agree. And like I said, I still think Shawn can go. I mean, you look at Ricky Steamboat. Steamboat was older than 52, correct, when he came back?
Let me look real quick. But yeah, he came back and he surprised. He did so well that they put him on some house shows.
Yeah, he was great.
And he wrestled a follow-up. Yeah, he was 55. 55. And not only that, when Ricky Steamboat retired, Shawn Michaels retired briefly for 4 years because of a back injury. But Ricky Steamboat was out of the ring for 15 years at that point. Yep. And he was forced out of the ring. Yep. Shawn Michaels just left.
Yep. I mean, Steamboat could even still skin the cat when he came back.
That was so cool. I thought that was great. Have you ever read Jericho's book where he talks about that?
Been a while. I might have at one
point. That was good stuff, man. I'm okay with seeing a Shawn Michaels, and what I hope he would even work like one NXT match with the talent that he finds special there.
And I was thinking that might be what he wants to do, is wrestle in NXT. Cool. But you know that Vince is going to want him on a big WWE show.
Of course. I want to see it. I think that he understands. I mean, Ric Flair came back. I mean, it is a shame that TNA has Ric Flair's last match. But that's not the situation we're in. Shawn Michaels isn't chasing a payday. WWE will never allow him to go broke, save some ridiculous situation. I want to see Shawn Michaels because it's a ready-made story, and that's important to wrestling to me.
Yeah, it'd be a good matchup. I want to read you a quote. Moving on, I want to read you a quote from an interview that Triple H did with Sports Illustrated. And this quote is regarding the state of WWE, especially since they announced the rights fees contract status and all that kind of thing. Here's a quote from Triple H. Vince has it ingrained in this company that we never rest on our laurels. That mentality of we're the best and no one is going to touch us is the kind of arrogance that leads to your demise. Now, the reason that I wrote that quote down is because it seems like WWE's been stagnant since before WrestleMania, and I know that we talked on this show about, they're in cruise control until the Greatest Royal Rumble. Then they're in cruise control until Backlash. Now we're going into Money in the Bank, and they still have not really put together any major stories for their top guys. Their top guys are kind of treading water. SmackDown's been better lately because Shinsuke Nakamura is awesome, but on Raw, there's not a whole lot going on. This week, Raw did 2.52 million viewers with no major competition on television, aside from a hockey game on NBC that did 5 million viewers. One of the lowest non-holiday, non-sports competition numbers ever on the USA Network. And I guess the question is that because WWE is stagnant, or is that an indication of viewer habits because Raw was still number 2 on cable for the night in the 18 to 49 demo, despite doing that number?
I think it is very indicative of how stagnant they are, and you better believe when I saw that quote in the interview, I said, I know what my headline's going to be for this one.
What was
to
it?
which Triple H says that Vince McMahon will allow WWE to rest on its laurels.
Okay. Yeah.
To which Pat McAfee, who does the pre-shows for NXT now, replied to me and said, I heard him say Yanni's. And I was like, you son of a bitch.
Well,
I think it is stagnant, and I've mentioned this, I think it was on a Fightful Select podcast. I think the WWE has a real option with the money that they're making on these new TV deals to almost go a 1984 to 1988 route of where they can leave the fans happy. They're getting their money, so why not focus on creatively satisfying the viewer and putting asses in seats? You've got money that's going to last you a real long time now, and they're going to have to shit the bed really bad, or TV's going to have to fall really hard for them to get less money on their next deal. It could happen.
And they got 5 years.
I doubt it. They got 5 years.
Yeah.
They got 5 years. That's a lot of time to work.
Yep. I mean, look at the 2 years, right? We said 2 years ago, no one would have thought they'd do better than UFC on a deal. And in 2 years, it did a switch. So they could be 4 years into the new deal and then decide in that 4th year to get their shit together, and they could really have a good, solid 5th year and then get a big contract again. It can happen that fast.
And I hope it doesn't happen because, I mean, we've seen some glimpses of brilliance from WWE. The Nexus intro, they had a bunch of people who would be eventual mid-carders and jobbers, and they made a great intro based on that. The CM Punk stuff was an awesome angle. I thought 2013, I thought in-ring WWE was on fire with the Shield and a lot of the stuff that they did there. Every couple of years they do something that gives you optimism, but then they'll do something like run a 60,000-seat house show in Saudi Arabia with a match that doesn't mean anything. Just get a little creative. That's all you have to do. Fans want to be respected. They want their intelligence respected. They want things to matter. The Constable Corbin thing, I like. I think that's something. Yeah. I think it's different. It's a way for him to like stir up some shit and maybe kick up something that might give somebody a reason to complain. Might give somebody a reason to want to fight somebody. I'm into that.
There were a couple things from TV this week that reminded me of the past in a positive way. The first one was when Big Cass did the interview with Renee Young, and he was in the arena but not in the ring.
Yeah.
And they did that for years on the platform, remember? And that's when like Ted DiBiase had little kids dribbling the basketball and stuff. They used to do that stuff on the platform, and I like that. The other thing I liked was when Shinsuke Nakamura's contract signing wasn't in the ring.
I loved it. And it was a live shot, too.
Yeah, and do you remember, like, Andre Hogan, right?
Yeah.
Like, they did it in the back initially, and I like that. It gives it more of a almost realistic feel to a degree. I don't know. That's not in the ring. And in the ring, you're just expecting a table flip and all that shit.
Yeah, I thought for sure that was a pre-tape because of the challenges of Nakamura speaking English sometime, but it was a live shot on the production script, so that was right back there. And I love the Dean Malenko, Adam Pearce cameos in that as well. Nakamura is so good.
He's great. That's great. Love him.
This pin is broken. It's fantastic.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. So I want to ask you this, and my buddy Crazy K, who you've met, he actually threw this one into my head because I was telling him this next piece of news, and he threw this into my head. You know how Michael Cole, everybody's favorite, Michael Cole, every week on Raw does the whole, longest running weekly episodic blah blah bullshit, right? How would you feel, Shawn, if, say, by the end of next year, potentially, we have to listen to Michael Cole every week say, Emmy award winning? How would that make you feel if you had to listen to that every week?
I think it would be better than longest running weekly episodic because I will tell you that Fightful has the longest running live post SmackDown video show of any wrestling website.
Do you think he would still say that, but add Emmy Award winning to it?
Oh, god damn, I hope not.
Which he might. So
Are
let me
they
tell
nominated
people.
for an Emmy?
No, but I'm going to tell people what's going on. So we're doing this on June 6th, tonight, and it's going to be streamed online, Sean, so maybe you guys can do something for Fightful.
Okay.
Tonight, June 6th, WWE is hosting an FYC event. Do you know what FYC means in this case? For your consideration.
Ooh.
They're doing a For Your Consideration event at the Wolf Theater in North Hollywood, California, and they are doing it for active members of the Television Academy. And it's going to be streaming live, of all places, at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Emmys.com, if you can fucking believe it. The WWE panel is going to include Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Shawn Michaels, Roman Reigns, Ronda Rousey, and the Bellas, among others. And they're doing it because they want to be considered for an Emmy Award.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Can you
they
believe
should. I mean,
that? They want to be considered for an Emmy
I
Award
want to be
now.
considered for an Emmy Award, Jimmy. I want to.
Legally, do they do online Emmys now? Like, legally, can you be up for that?
They should.
Yeah, I don't know.
They should. Who is it? There's somebody that I know that won an Emmy. Well, I mean, I know a friend locally. I think
Chris Van Vliet did.
Chris Van Vliet. Yeah, he's the shit. He's
great.
awesome.
He's great.
Chris Van Vliet rules.
Yeah.
Hey, before this week, he and Fightful were literally the only two people who dabble in wrestling journalism that even interviewed him for the last several years. So the fact that he was able to do that speaks volumes. People just like him, but WWE ain't quite exactly Chris Van Vliet.
But what do you think it says for the the WWE strategy moving forward when they want so badly to be considered mainstream? Because this has a lot to do with that. They want so badly to be considered mainstream that now they're going to push for an Emmy Award. Because here's the thing. I realized wrestling is entertainment. We all know this, right? Wrestling is entertainment.
Yeah.
But I've always said that, and maybe you agree or disagree, I think wrestling's at its best when you're able to blur that line.
Yeah.
Right? And when you're able to watch the show and think, there's a shoot in there somewhere kind of thing, when you're able to blur the line is when it's good. And now if they're going to go even further into acknowledgement, I guess, of the entertainment aspect by going for an Emmy Award, I don't know, man. I think Vince's dad be rolling over in his grave, honestly.
Bold prediction, category they will not win. Outstanding technical direction, camera work, video control for a series.
For sure.
That ain't WWE.
What would
That
they be
ain't
up for? Like, what category? Because I don't know the categories.
There's a lot. I'm looking at them right now. You got they ain't winning outstanding makeup. They could win some like cinematography stuff, like.
But they probably want like
stuff.
outstanding show or something, right? Whatever.
Well, maybe, but like if they stopped with some of the stupid shit that they did, they might be able to win some of the like live directing and things.
Maybe
things like that.
I mean, it's all political bullshit anyway.
Hey, get Bianca Belair on the main roster. You'll win outstanding hairstyling for like a limited series or whatever the hell thing it is.
Wow.
Hey, get Renee Young on a reality show as a host, and she'll win outstanding host for a reality. Or you could argue that WWE is a reality program. They could do that. I'm sure they would. They love to do that.
Yeah.
But I think Renee Young could win an Emmy.
Yeah, I think she could. She would deserve it.
I think Renee Young could win an Emmy wherever the hell she worked.
The fact that she had to stand next to Cass, because as much as I liked the idea of the outside the ring promo, I hated the fact that Cass, and it's not his fault because he's just following orders. He had to spend the entire promo making fun of everybody's height and Daniel Bryan's the little guy, and it's so agitating. It's like you're not good just because you're tall. Being tall doesn't make you good.
I think that's the gimmick too. Is that he thinks he is, but he's not. I think his words would have been a lot more this week had he not been beaten on pay-per-view in 7 minutes by Daniel Bryan.
Right.
And that promo that Daniel Bryan cut on him after the show was great.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
All right, let's move on to Stupid People.
This is a stupid song, it just goes on and on. You might find some meaning, but you would be wrong.
Okay, thanks to TrevorStrong.org for the usage of the song. Sean, you might want to check out the video of this first one. I know there's a delay on your side.
Yeah, there is.
You might have seen this one before, so we'll put it up in a second. So this was reported by the Associated Press on June 3rd. Oh, and let me say again, after the podcast is over, go to FightfulSelect.com for Stupid People Extended. So this first one, An off-duty FBI agent and
God, I've seen
You
this.
saw this one?
Yes.
Melissa, you can put the video up whenever you want, because I can talk over it.
Dipshit.
That's why it's on Stupid People.
Yeah.
An off-duty FBI agent dancing at a nightclub in Denver, Colorado, accidentally discharged his gun and shot another patron in the leg. The agent did a backflip that made the gun fall out of his pants, and when he went to pick it up, he accidentally made it go off.
Thing's got a hair trigger.
There's a news reporter for 9 News Denver named Ryan Harrer. He posted the video of this on Twitter. Charges are being determined by the Denver District Attorney's Office. Guy had a loaded gun in his back pocket at a nightclub.
Dipshit.
Yeah, it's really, really odd.
He's
really
getting
odd.
his ass sued
Yeah.
so hard, and he's gonna loot. He'll have to be settled. He won't even make it.
No, they'll
He
settle.
looked like he was about to bounce off the ropes and hit a knee drop, a la Rope Dog, because those were some shitty dance moves, and the backflip, not that impressive, coming from a guy who can't do one.
And after the gun went off, he was almost nonchalant about it. You know?
Aaron Hayden, one of our columnists, says the gun went off and only like 2 people in the circle walked away.
Yeah.
It was the club in fucking Beirut. Yeah, I can't sum it up any better than that.
No.
Nobody was phased even.
No, who knows? I shouldn't say it, but Colorado's had their challenges. Maybe, who knows? This next one, that's all I'm going to say, Nigel. That's all I'm going to say, Nigel.
Hi there.
This next one was reported by the Associated Press on May 31st. So there's my agent calling me because I just sold my house. So this was reported by the Associated Press on May 31st. A 24-year-old man named Ryan James Barr out of Moundsville, West Virginia, is in custody on $50,000 bond with the charge of child neglect creating risk of injury after he put his 2 young kids in a dryer, shut the door, turned them on, and then took videos of them and put them on Snapchat. Can you believe that?
That is ridiculous.
He claimed he put his daughter in there because she was always climbing in and he wanted to teach her a lesson. And he
Oh my god.
that's what he said. And he claimed he put his son in there.
You're going to learn today.
He claimed he put his son in there to teach him not to be scared.
By putting the fear of God in him? Oh my god.
Now, Sean, let me tell you something. And I'm going to say this because I know Sean's going to agree with me on this, and I know you're an animal fan. You're going to agree. I don't know if Nigel's an animal fan or not, but you're going to agree with me. You know, sometimes in the winter, especially Toronto gets cold, and there are times in the winter, and I'll be walking down the sidewalk, and I see, especially on Yonge Street in Toronto, a dog tied up outside of a coffee shop, like in the dead of winter, shivering, while the owner's sitting inside having hot chocolate. And there have been times that I see that, and I think to myself, I want to wait for this monkey to come out, and then I'm going to take the leash off the dog, and I'm going to put it on them, and let them sit out there in the cold for a while. When I hear stories like this one, Sean, I would love to take that jackass, throw him in the dryer, and let him deal with that. Can you imagine how terrified a little kid would be
Oh, yeah.
going in a
How
dryer
old were
like
they?
that? They didn't say the ages in the story.
That's
They didn't say 'em.
miserable.
Yeah, what a
That's
piece of
mid-
shit. What a piece of shit. So he can rot. You know?
We should do one piece of shit of the week.
Piece of shit of the week.
Yeah. We
I
should
feel like
switch it
there's
up
a lot of
sometime.
overlap.
We could probably do something.
Yeah.
Maybe we could use the Happy Gilmore clip on that. You know what I'm talking about?
You pieces of shit for breakfast?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, this last one. This is for the SRS file.
Yeah.
Reported by the UK Metro on June 2nd. There's a new fashion trend, Sean. Another one.
Is it going to prowrestlingtees.com/Fightful to get beautiful, butter soft, but not butter soft, ghee soft Fightful t-shirts? Because it should be.
That's a geese off t-shirt?
T-shirt?
Yeah, it's a
No.
soft.
Doesn't that mean it would
I
run
would like
right
to
off
get
of
a
you?
white one up there. We need to get like a white Fightful shirt with black lettering up
We
there.
could probably hook that up.
For the summer, man.
There you go. We can look it up. So back to the fashion trend. There is a clothing brand out of China called GU Company Limited, and they have created a new fashion trend. And Melissa's going to put the picture up. This is a penis pocket.
Ooh.
It is a pocket that is placed directly over the penis area of pants. It's done in a contrasting color so that they can draw your eyes to it. So they do it in a contrasting color, and it actually functions as a real pocket so long as the pants are zipped up and buttoned up.
No, they're
Penis
dumb.
pocket.
Not new.
That's not new?
That's a cock sock. That's what that is. Not new. Behind the trend.
Those existed before?
No, but it rhymed, so I went ahead and said it. So, I watch. Sometimes when I'm working, I'll put something on for background noise. I watch Naked and Afraid on Discovery. It's where they drop two people, butt-ass naked, essentially, out in the jungle or the desert or some shit, and they've got to survive for 21 days.
Naked?
Yeah.
Really?
Sometimes they build clothes, but a lot of times they don't. But yeah, they get bug bites everywhere. That's the only practical use I can see for that.
I mean, the pants in general would be practical in that case.
Yeah, I mean, for the cock sock, or what is it called?
The penis pocket. But in that case, I'd probably rip the penis pocket off and see if the girl needs it some capacity, you know?
Yeah, well, in some capacity.
And
that's just dumb.
It is.
It ain't
dumb.
gonna catch on. It's not gonna work.
Well, there you go. And once again, go to Fightful Select after this for Stupid People Extended. So let's move on. This Saturday, New Japan Dominion. From Osaka, Japan.
Programming note for that, guys. I do have our predictions up on YouTube. They will run on Fightful tonight. They were on SmackDown Live post-show last night. But the Fightful Select Weekender podcast this weekend will be a free preview because I'm going to review Dominion on that show probably Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening before UFC once I get a chance to take in that New Japan show. But every week I review 205, Ring of Honor, NXT. You get the drill. Everything non-Raw and SmackDown on that show.
So let's talk about the major matches. So it's taking place in Osaka, Japan. The major matches, Kenny Omega versus Okada for the IWGP title. Chris Jericho versus Tetsuya Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental title. Rey Mysterio's on the show. Jushin Thunder Liger, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks. Do you think that Jericho, his second major match, or second ever match back in Japan this run, do you think he's going to lose again? Or do you think he's going to win the title?
I want to preface this by saying this is all speculation on my behalf. I don't really have an in with a lot of New Japan people, so this is all just predictions. Jeff mentioned that Jericho's thing is he talks all this shit and loses, but I could see him winning and then dropping the title in San Francisco if they want to make it special, because their tickets aren't moving that well for San Francisco. So
that would help for sure. And not only that, but I realized Jericho's mystique now is that he can lose and stay over. But at the same time, if he lost again and came back a third time, by that point you need to win. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So if he does lose this match and goes back a third time, he's got to win because it's gonna lose its appeal after a while.
Yeah, so. I agree. He's got to pick up a win. He's got to back up some of the shit that he talks.
Right, for sure. Now this next one, I got the perfect guy in the room for this one. Nigel, the political guy, perfect guy for this one. Melissa, put up that photo of the barbecue. So there's a picture that I'm putting up for our video viewers. It is of a Muslim man on a barbecue spit, and he has a copy of the what is it called? Holy Quran, which is essentially the Islamic Bible. It's burning under him in the picture. And
boy,
did you see this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell this story. So the woman that posted that, she goes by the name Amy Meck on social media. She self-professed pro-Jewish, pro-Christian, pro-Donald Trump. She's been accused of being anti-Muslim. She claims that she's not. She's anti-radical Islam, is what she claims. The reason I'm bringing this up is because a guy by the name of Luke O'Brien from the Huffington Post, he revealed her identity. I learned a new word, Nigel.
Was it dox?
Doxing.
Yeah.
Had you ever heard that before, Sean?
No.
Doxing, Doxxing.
Oh, okay, yeah, I have heard.
Okay,
that.
I had never heard of no
yeah,
doxing.
Doxing, yeah.
I had never heard of doxing. So doxing means that they basically reveal your identity. That was a new one on me. And so he revealed her identity to be Amy Jane Meckelberg. And this is wrestling related because her husband was a WWE executive by the name of Sal Sino. He was the VP of Global Content Distribution and Business Development for WWE. And based on her actions on social media, he was fired by WWE. And so I wanted to ask Nigel, what are your thoughts on this seemingly innocent man being fired from his job by WWE based on the actions of his wife on social media?
Jeez, that's a tough one because we're people are used to seeing people getting fired for things that they've done now,
Yes.
but it's like the one step removed. I think it's it's kind of a dangerous precedent, but I also think it has more to do with the company probably wanting to distance themselves from any sort of PR nightmare than it is about anything else. Companies just reflexively are like, nope, not going to deal with it.
So here's how I look at it. If WWE was not a public company, if they did not have shareholders to answer to, if they were not looking to sign new rights fees deals to the tune of whatever it is, what is it, 1 point whatever billion a year, whatever. Yeah. If not for all of that, I don't think this decision would have been made. But I think under the circumstances, they almost had to do it. If it was my company, which is a small company, not public, and if Nigel's girlfriend was posting pictures of a Muslim man on a barbecue spit, I would say, Nigel, just make sure that you don't post pictures of a Muslim man on a barbecue spit, and you're cool. And that's basically the way that I would look at it. But it's not surprising me that WWE did it. But when I heard about it, I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting situation.
Anything I post on social media now, I think in my mind, how will this look when my wife, who wants to be a teacher, if her employers start to look into that? How will that look? So I got to keep that in mind. However, and this is a touchy subject because some of the stuff that she posted is pretty rough.
Pretty bad.
And they don't want to be associated with that at all. And
now she's trying to present herself as the victim now. Because she's going after this Luke O'Brien guy now, trying to get him fired.
Yeah.
So, but whatever. It came up. I thought it was interesting. And there's kind of a somewhat kind of sort of related story. Kind of sort of. And this is another one that I love Nigel's opinion on stuff like this, man. So the UK's independent publication reported on June 1st that Al-Qaeda, and anybody that's not familiar, Al-Qaeda is the radical Islamic group that was founded by Osama bin Laden. So Al-Qaeda has warned the Saudi Arabian Prince Mohammed via a statement that WWE's Greatest Royal Rumble event was sinful. And here's a quote from the statement that they sent to Prince Mohammed. Disbelieving wrestlers exposed their privates, and on most of them was the sign of the cross in front of a mixed gathering of young Muslim men and women. So obviously the real problem is that Al-Qaeda didn't like the fact that the prince is trying to expose Muslims to Western influence and more progressive entertainment events. And
their privates.
Yeah, I mean, really, right? There were no dicks flopping around at the Greatest Royal Rumble. But
true.
That's...
Although New Day did ask Miz to help them reveal their member to the universe this week on SmackDown, which I thought was hilarious.
Good thing they didn't do it in Saudi Arabia, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the real issue that Al-Qaeda has with it. My question is, do you think, and this is for Shawn, I guess, as the wrestling guy, do you think that this is going to impact the future of WWE shows there because they signed a 10-year deal? This is only the first show of a 10-year deal, and it looks like it's a 20-show deal over 10 years. So do you think that's going to impact future shows?
At this point, I would be very surprised if that 10-year deal ends up seeing the end. Hopefully, socially, everything progresses in the world to where we don't have to worry about shit like this, and where they don't have to worry about shit like this. Over here, it just seems so dumb.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, I'm reviewing shows on Fightful Select, like the Backlash show, and I'm like, oh, wow, China used to wrestle with her ass cheeks hanging out.
Yes.
And literally, Road Dogg refused to leave the ring. He said, "Oh, hold on, Billy. Before you go, you got to show him that ass."
Yep.
And I'm, what?
What did Road Dogg used to do before the pump handle slam?
Well, he, quite frankly, butt fucked somebody.
Yes. And that was part of his regular skill set in the ring.
Yeah.
Like, they've come a long way since then, but obviously when you're talking about that culture, can you imagine Attitude Era wrestling in that culture, Shawn?
Could you imagine Bayley doing that to somebody?
It'd probably get her over better.
It might.
But
it might if she went the complete opposite direction.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know. You hear things like that, and it does kind of make you wonder, could it be a security risk down the road for them? But,
yeah, I hope not. I mean, I had my fair share of issues with the Saudi Arabia thing because women couldn't wrestle on the show, and I think that's stupid. But not everybody's going to share my culture, so.
All right, let's move on to the next one. So PW Insider reported that Madison Square Garden is actually unhappy with WWE because lately they've been running most of their New York area shows at Barclays Center, which is true. They've been doing most of them.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's much more cost effective for them. And now as a result of this, MSG has actually waived their long-standing exclusivity, and they've booked a date with AAA for September. I know that Dave Meltzer said that he's not sure the show will actually happen. It's a pretty damn big venue for AAA, but and expensive. But MSG has set that date aside for them in September. Now, this comes right on the heels, literally the next day, after WWE announced that they're going to have The Undertaker on their next show at MSG on July 7.
Against the Cow Palace show in New Japan, by the way.
Oh, is it July 7?
Same day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and UFC 226, International Fight Week, Miocic.
Oh,
Cormier.
no, that's the same day?
All three, same day.
Oh, man.
R.I.P. in peace.
I'm watching the Cormier fight that night.
Oh, I am too. That's a big fight.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what's going on. What do you think? Do you think that this is just, MSG just trying to pull their weight around? Or do you think, because I don't see how AAA can afford to run that venue. They're not going to sell it out.
So, again, this is speculation. I'm trying to find out, but there have been some stuff that Pat Fannin has realized. He's like, there's a lot of guys working. There's a couple of guys that are working AAA and CMLL at the same time right now, and that doesn't usually happen. So there's some speculation. What if those two could run a show together? What that means in New York, I have no idea.
Are they going to get 20,000 Mexicans at Madison Square Garden?
Well, I mean, do you remember when Worlds Collide?
Yes. That was in California,
L.A.,
no?
though. Yes, it was in L.A., though.
It's a different market, yeah.
A little different.
Yeah.
So if you all want to hear, like, basically a brief history of Barclays and MSG, and honestly, some people in New York have loyalty to Barclays for helping improve that area of the city. Demon Diva, who was on a members-only podcast, you all can see it on Fightful Select, really goes into detail on that and stuff that I had no idea about. This lends a little more credibility to the all-in MSG rumors that I had heard, because I thought they were blowing smoke up everybody's ass. Because I was like, what? How could they do that? Well,
it's an
obviously,
expensive venue, man.
it is, and that's why WWE doesn't want to run there. Of course, why would they? However, they kept pretty loyal to their December 26th show being there. If you want WWE to come there, it can't be as expensive.
Yes, exactly.
It's got to be in a better area. It's got to be in all that stuff.
All they gotta do is
ask
cut
David,
a deal. Yep, agreed.
I'll ask David Bixenspan to expand on this a little bit, because he's used to that area, and of course Carlos. But man, you got to make you've made it hard. WWE won't even run TV there, and I used to love watching WWE TV from there because it was configured different. How they had the entrance in the back.
Yes,
I loved that.
Yeah,
it was different.
It was different.
It gave a different vibe to it. It made me feel like it was special, and WWE's going to run the nicer, cheaper place that accommodates their fans better.
I was at MSG shortly after the renovation, because they did I think it was like $1 billion renovation at MSG, and I was there shortly thereafter. And a couple of things that I noticed that told me that MSG still valued WWE. The first thing was they had some artwork on the wall that was wrestling related. The second thing was they ran a video. Before I was there for a hockey game. They ran a video before the game started that was kind of talking about the history of MSG and all that. Part of the video showed Roddy Piper walking on the floor of the arena, looking up when the renovation had been completed.
Yeah.
And getting his reaction to seeing the renovation that they did. And I saw that, thinking to myself, they clearly still value the partnership that they threw all that stuff in. So I can understand that them seeing WWE run, sometimes 3 nights in a row, 4 nights in a row at Barclays Center. I'm sure that they're not crazy about that. But again, it's so much more cost effective for WWE. And that's the only reason they do it. That's the only
A couple
reason.
of things on my wrestling bucket list that, unfortunately, I didn't get to go see a PWG show at the hall that they ran for a while, the one that helped make their name. But I've always wanted to see a December 26th Madison Square Garden WWE house show, just because ever since I can remember they've done that. And I've always wanted – they've made it seem a little cooler, a little more special. I can't believe they never run like a network special from there on that. Like,
do you want to set a new traffic target for Fightful? And if you hit it, I'll send you that show?
I don't even look at the traffic anymore. Who was that?
That was Melissa. That was Melissa.
What'd she say?
I think she said, "Whoa."
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you what you think of this one, because I thought this was very interesting. So WWE created a website called WWEPerformanceCenter.com where they are now
linked to a friend who wants to try out today.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that because I was going to mention this. So they're actively looking to recruit new talent online for the Performance Center through this website. What I was going to say to you is, can you imagine some of the monkeys that applied through the site? Because you remember when they would have the Tough Enough tryout shows?
Yeah.
And you would have, some guy that was 110 pounds and 5'1" because he was a wrestling fan with a belt on his shoulder, thinking I'm going to be the next WWE superstar. And I'm not knocking these guys because they have a passion for wrestling and that's cool. But in terms of reality, no chance to be a talent in the company. But there's going to be a ton that are applying through that thing. I'd like to know in our business we call it the conversion rate, Shawn. In my business, I'd like to know the conversion rate of applicants to recruits on that new website.
So I passed it along to a guy named Adrian Thomas, who is an indie wrestler. He was an MMA fighter, still does a lot of training. And if you look at him, you're like, okay, that's the type of guy that WWE would want. You all can follow him, ADRE_OTM on Twitter. A quick shout out for him. But I was like, not a lot of people would I think I'll pass this along to.
Right.
But I look at him and I'm like, okay, you're the type of guy that if WWE just glanced at you, they'd be like, all right, maybe we'll bring you in for a tryout type of thing. Oh, by the way, he's done some stuff with Reality of Wrestling, I believe, and so I mean, I'm sure he's got a good ear. But that's the type of person that I would recommend do that to. But you're gonna have a lot of people. I remember when I was at the Arnold Classic, and they promoted public tryouts. They weren't open tryouts; they were public tryouts. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget this guy in it's not a cowboy hat, but it was similar to a cowboy hat, in a long overcoat, and he was a big fella, and I don't mean that by him being tall. Uh-huh. And he was mad, and he was calling WWE out in the middle of this crowd. I thought this was open tryouts. I thought it was open tryouts. And then you see what they go through just for show. And it's like, buddy, you just need to go home.
Nigel, you want to do me a favor?
Sure.
Are you dying again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm under the weather, Shawn.
See, you have me. I've got this cough that I have all the time. And now I'm like, Kara, I got to get a checkup.
Give me 2, Nigel. Sure. Yeah, thanks.
You're just doing this on the air. You're Walter Whiting me again.
No, you know what? I felt it coming on yesterday, and you can probably hear it in my voice today. And my son had croup. My wife was sick from going to the zoo, and I think I got it. I think I got it from them. So I'm trying my best to fight it off. So.
But yeah, there's going to be a lot of people who aren't like an Adrian Thomas that are going to just apply because, okay, I don't know if you've ever seen it on some of the messages we get on Fightful. There have been a few times where people will be like, put me in touch with Daniel Bryan. And I'm like,
really?
That's not what we do, guy. Melissa,
that
have
happens?
You seen those? Yeah, oh yeah. Oh gosh, if you open up our Facebook thing, there's a lot of people from other continents, I'll say, that are like, how do I become WWE superstar? And I'm like,
really?
Now I got a link to send them.
Yeah,
thanks,
very
WWE.
Good. Very good, very good.
Get that engagement up on Facebook.
I got to put up this next photo. This is the Undercover Boss one, Melissa. Got to put this one up. Now, do you remember, Shawn, when WWE had the prank special on their network?
Yes.
And one of the episodes had Vince McMahon in disguise at the front desk.
Yeah.
And it was very clear that unless you're an idiot, you would know damn well that's Vince McMahon. And I would kind of question. It was one thing when he was playing with, say, like a Pure Later guy, FedEx guy, or something. That's one thing. But when they would have WWE employees coming in and out, I would think to myself, this has got to be set up. How do they not know that's Vince McMahon, right? So is the photo up? Mm-hmm. So that photo that you see is of Stephanie McMahon. She's going to be on Celebrity Undercover Boss. Her episode airs next Friday, June 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. My question again is, if you work for WWE, how do you not know that that's Stephanie McMahon? Anybody on that show that doesn't know that's Stephanie McMahon and you work for the company, you're either a complete fucking moron. That's one of my favorite words, Shawn. You're smiling. You're either a complete fucking moron or it's staged. Because how do you not know that's Stephanie McMahon?
I just want to tell you, those of you who were duped by Stephanie McMahon, I'm excited for you to join me in Toronto when Jimmy Van flies us all in for the Blue Jays game. Come on an empty stomach. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But how do you not know that Stephanie McMahon,
You gotta be
Sean?
a fool to fall for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Come on.
If I were her and I duped somebody, I'd have to have a serious conversation with them about their awareness.
You know what I would honestly do? So, at the end of that show, they sit down with them, right? One-on-one, and then they do the big sob story, and then they give them, like, money and a car and stuff. If that was me, I would sit down with them, and I would say, I'm on television every week. I'm one of the most recognizable people in the company. You didn't know who I was because I was wearing a wig. You're fired. That's probably how I would end the episode.
And then she would say, and that's exactly how I act on TV every single week.
Right. Yeah.
She does.
Right, exactly. Except she wouldn't slap him across the face. But
somebody from Swerved is suing Titus O'Neil for, like, kicking them.
I heard about that because it was the way he reacted, right, or something?
Yeah, I think I can't remember exactly what happened. I think he stands a much better case than Dr. Chris Amon did.
Yes.
Who unsuccessfully tried to sue Colt Cabana. Here's our conversation with Colt Cabana right after the ruling.
Melissa was scrambling on that one.
I've been here the whole time, and me and you talked about 40 minutes ago, and I asked how you're feeling before the verdict, and you're like, ask me in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
40 minutes later, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I was confident throughout this whole thing, but it's just, my lawyer told me very early, like, you just never know. A jury could be feeling this way one day or whatever, so you just never know. So, but at the end of the day, the jury came to the right decision, the decision that we all kind of felt was obvious. But again, I feel great. It's just all finally, hopefully, all done. I can get this out of my life. I can move forward and just, I don't have a lot of negativity in my life, and this was bringing some unwanted stress. So I'm just glad that that's kind of removed now, hopefully.
What does this last almost 3.5 years? What has this been like for you?
Yeah, the worst. I mean, it's the worst. It's just always on your mind. You're always thinking about it. Even when you're allowed to not think about it, it creeps back in. And so it's upsetting that the system takes so long, but it's just the reality of it. You have to deal with it. And I just remember being like 34 when it happened and being like, I'm going to be 38. Like, it's so long when this is going to finally be wrapped up. And here we are, 38. So.
What have you learned about yourself throughout this whole process?
I mean, it sounds more like I've learned about the legal system, I guess. But, I never said to myself, like, have I done something wrong? Have I done something bad? I always knew that was Punk's story, and he wanted to tell it, and I never thought there was anything wrong with that. So there wasn't a lot of self-checking or self-realization in the moment, to be honest.
What advice would you give fellow podcasters?
Get insured.
Now, why is that? And you said that.
Yeah.
What is that?
Just cases like this, they can just come when you don't expect it, and if you're not insured, the money's coming out of your pocket.
I thought the coolest moment was when you and Punk embraced, and I could see you both crying. And what was all that like when you guys finally saw you guys just crying? It felt like all this weight of the world was released on you guys.
I mean, he was, when he was done with the podcast that we did, all this weight was off his chest, and then it gets sucked right back into it. Not only that, into a court case, into all this stuff and all this money and everything's involved. So I knew the relief he felt when he was done. So got a good sense of the relief he felt when he was done with this court case.
And with this, what would you like to say to the Colt Cabana fans?
I mean, I just, everyone was supporting me. I mean, not everyone, but my fans, I constantly get updates, and people were with me and have been for so long, and it's just nice, like, validation that a jury of my peers, they got it.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
And we're back.
Okay, we have articles up. We have a breaking news podcast up yesterday. All that stuff can be found at Fightful.com and, of course, our YouTube, youtube.com/Fightful. If you all don't subscribe to that, please do. Hit the bell for notifications, and the thumbs up helps, too. If you want to listen to the audio of our podcast, we are on everything. What all are we on, Melissa? Do you even know?
Oh, she knows.
A lot. I set them all up for the most part.
We were on iHeartRadio until recently, and somebody
We are
said...
still.
Yeah, somebody's like, we listen to you on iHeartRadio, and I was like, wow.
Podbean and iHeartRadio and Libsyn and Speaker and Stitcher and Spreaker, something like that. Tons.
Also, guys, today I finished a members-only podcast on FightfulSelect.com with Alex Andreessen. He's one of our sponsor-level tier members. He also had an article request, which is going to be up on Sunday. That's going to be really good. It's about New Day. But we talked about his visit to Raleigh for SmackDown last week and some off-air notes and cool stuff like that. So check it out.
Awesome. So, sometimes I hate putting over the same people over and over and over again because it comes off like there's favorites.
Just praise on me at the beginning of the show, Jimmy. My God.
I don't want to be, and I'm not knocking him. I'm just being honest. I don't want to be like a Meltzer, always putting over the Young Bucks because they named a move after him. But I have to once again put over Kevin Owens because Kevin Owens is awesome, and what he just put on his Twitter profile is just. How can you not love Kevin Owens when he does stuff like this? This is why you like him, because of stuff like this. Put up that screenshot of Kevin Owens' Twitter profile. Mm-hmm. So here's a quote from it for our non-video people. I got verified again so that I can beg Shania Twain to play my favorite song, When, at her concert this summer in Montreal because I'll be there. I'm serious. How can you not love the guy for doing stuff like that? I actually looked up the date of the concert. It's on Tuesday night, June 26th, which is actually my mom's birthday. And so there you go. He actually claims he got verified again on Twitter because he wants to get Shania Twain to play his favorite song. How can you not love him, Sean? How can you not love him?
It's fantastic, and I believe him.
Even on Raw, and I realized it was like heavily produced and stuff, but even on Raw, when he was too scared to climb to the top of the ladder, even though we've seen him do way worse shit.
Yeah.
But the Kevin Owens character of today was too scared to climb to the top of the ladder, and that gave Finn Balor the opportunity to turn the tables on him. You can't help but love the guy. I wish that they would run with him. I thought they did great things with him in Jericho. Split them up. He had the title for a while, but he's kind of been on the decline since before WrestleMania in terms of how they book him. I love him. How can you not?
Yeah, good stuff from him. Hate that Sami Zayn's got to go through the shit he's going through.
Oh, man. And Bobby Lashley, I feel for Bobby Lashley, man. I do. Because I don't think he came over from Impact Wrestling, and Bellator for that matter, thinking they're going to have me in this dog shit storyline and I'm going to come out to no reaction. It's he's a star. Like they've dropped the ball with Bobby Lashley. But anyway.
When we had our argument last week, I should have really just burned you and said, "You don't really run a company." And then it would have just set you off like Bobby Lashley. Because he got serious. He was like, "What? I didn't serve in the military. I mean, I know it's documented.
What I would have
how dare
done,
you say such a thing."
I would have said nothing, and then like an hour later, you would have been like, "Hey, how come my login's not working?" Kind of would have started there. So let's move on. I want to ask you this question: what is the general feeling today or these days about Impact Wrestling among like wrestling fans? Like, what's the general feeling about Impact these days?
I've had more interest in Impact Wrestling since the deletion days.
You have? Really?
The quality of the show is pretty fair. It's rarely is it bad. Don Callis and Scott D'Amore took a thing in which I thought was completely insolvent, and they built some goodwill for it. I don't know what that will mean in the long run, but it's very clear that they see things more broad. They see things more progressive. I mean, people have the rights to their own names now. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that necessarily from a financial standpoint, if that makes any sense.
Really bad business decision,
but also it does give those people more of an incentive to even wrestle for Impact. So there is that. They do things a little bit different. They're able to hide spoilers a little bit better because they film stuff at different times. They film stuff at different places. I think that's cool. I think overall Impact has been pretty easy to cover, and that is not always the case. That was not the case for a long time. For a while, I mean, I would watch Impact, but I wouldn't review it. I review it for the Weekender on Fightful Select, and it's all right.
And there's still interest.
They're a little. It's very digital friendly too, because I think they understand a lot of people aren't going to watch their show. Right. You can watch their YouTube videos and not really miss anything.
Okay, and are they still heavily emphasizing Twitch? Like, are they keeping up with the weekly shows on Twitch?
Somewhat. Yeah, I don't know if it's ever weekly shows, was it?
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be. They're going to do one with Josh Matthews. Remember the new Law, right?
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
I will never watch anything like that.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is because on the show that aired last week, because they do tape in advance, so on the show that aired last week, Austin Aries regained the Impact Wrestling title over Pentagon, and Su Yung, who is Rich Swan's wife, won the Knockouts title on the same show. And I know Austin Aries' gimmick is that he's collecting all these titles, kind of the Ultimo Dragon gimmick. He's collecting all these titles, and I think he challenged for the Ring of Honor TV title last week, and they thought he won it. They did the swerve, and he didn't. But so I was just kind of curious because I don't watch Impact. I don't get Pop, and I think in Canada they are on the Fight Network, and nobody watches the Fight Network. So
they should build to Moose and Aries because that's really what they got right now.
Right. Okay. I was kind of curious about that. What do you think about Lio Rush going to 205 Live?
I like it. I think it means that Ricochet will go to SmackDown or Raw because, in my estimation, I think they have a future Rey Mysterio in Ricochet or Lio Rush. And I thought that the one that went to 205 Live meant the other one would end up going to Raw or SmackDown eventually because I think they in the ring, those two in particular are very, very special. If you put both of those on 205 Live, I think it's a waste.
Agreed.
I think he is a great addition to 205 Live in the ring.
So no doghouse, I guess, for the Emma comment.
Well, there was.
And it's over. Is it over, I guess?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's over. Well, unless he shows up and gets beat by TJ Perkins in 20 seconds or something.
I mean, you never know. I mean, I definitely see something in Ricochet. Did you see the spot with Velveteen Dream where he did the flip over the top rope?
So I did commentary for Premier MMA Championships last weekend, and my broadcast host didn't know that he was a wrestling fan, but his name is Rayshawn Allen, and like one of the first things he brought up was that spot.
It's amazing.
And I actually saw Mike Bucci, the former Nova, on Facebook put over Velveteen Dream for his facial expressions.
Oh, you really?
That was really good.
Yeah.
That's how you, as if the front flip wasn't enough to make a guy, Velveteen Dream's reaction made Ricochet even more. He has got that down.
It made me think of the Olympics when the gymnast lands on the mat and they get extra points if they don't move once they hit their feet. And Ricochet, perfect landing. Like he didn't like move at all. You know what I mean? Like that guy is something special.
Tyler Valls is a friend of mine who does a lot of great play-by-play on the independent circuits, and he says I cannot wait to see all these indie wrestlers try that spot.
Oh my God! Broken legs, broken ankles. But
I saw that, and I've broken my ankle or injured it pretty badly twice, and I just saw that and I was like, oh no!
Oh yeah. That guy is something. He's something special. They need to protect him.
In the match, he suplexed Chris Dijak, who's huge. Did a deadlift suplex to the guy. He is something.
So earlier on, I was going over media with Melissa, and getting her to set certain things up. And I said to her, I referred to one of them as Brian Christopher. And Melissa said, I don't have that. I have a Brian Lawler. And I said, oh, it's the same one. His dad is Jerry the King Lawler. And she goes, I know that name. So go ahead and put up the picture of Brian Christopher, Brian Lawler.
What happened? Did he slide in Melissa's DMs when she was like 17 or something?
Yeah. You never know. So this is a recent shot of him. He was arrested Tuesday night. He was arrested Tuesday night at the Hampton Inn in downtown Memphis for staying in a room with another wrestler named Terry Teague without paying for it. They used a credit card. They didn't have any funds available. And I have, I've covered enough stuff with people getting arrested. This is the first time I'd ever heard of the term theft of services. He was charged with theft of services, $1,000 or less. So obviously it's, not a major charge. But he's had his share of problems. Remember he got his ass kicked there a little while ago?
Yeah.
He's had his share of issues. Jerry Lawler, I'm sure, is massively proud. And I saw this mugshot, wanted to put it up. What do you think,
man? He's not going to be able to afford his jet ski insurance this month. That's for sure.
I just signed that yesterday. It's funny you bring it up. I just signed it.
Man, he looks more and more like Jerry Lawler.
He does, especially with the hair dyed black. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every single year.
Yes, he does.
Oh, man. Yep. Look at Scotty. Look at where he's at right now. Scotty became a respectable citizen after his wrestling career ended. I think he was a firefighter for a while.
Yes.
And he showed up on NXT looking younger in his NXT days than he did in his WWE days somehow.
Yeah.
And there was Bryan. And
you know what I mean? We've seen it with other people. It's difficult sometimes when you're trying to live up to the legacy of your dad or of your mother. I think it's difficult. And I know, you've heard the stories, even about Owen and Brett. You've heard the stories about Owen living up to Brett's legacy. I remember Jerry Briscoe talking about having to live up to the legacy of his brother Jack. And that's just siblings, let alone your Jerry the King Lawler is one of the greatest ever. And one of the greatest promoters ever. And the
thing was, Bryan's good. Was good.
Yes.
They wanted to put that light heavyweight division heavily on him. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he saw it as some hill that he couldn't climb over. I don't know what.
I think he didn't want to be typecast. I think because his dad never trained. His dad never worked out. Covered his body with his outfit and stuff like that, but his dad was just so successful for so long, and unfortunately Bryan was a smaller guy, especially when you get to WWE. He was a smaller guy, and I don't think he wanted to be perceived. In Memphis, he was booked as a top guy.
Yeah. And
I don't think he wanted to be perceived as a cruiserweight in WWE, but it's a shame, man. He was good, you're right, he was good.
Crazy to think that 5'10", 215 is small, right?
Yeah.
That's wild to think now, but I mean, his screw-ups are a part of WWE lexicon. They brought it up during one of his last appearances in 2011, I think it was. But
I used to love it when he did the dance as part of the intro, and he would do the thing where he had one arm like that, shaking.
Oh yeah, I busted my ass trying to emulate that one time.
Yeah.
It was a failure. It's very hard. But yeah, he got. I mean, they gave him a chance in 2004 to come back, and he screwed it up within a month. I just hope he gets his shit straight.
Last thing on my list today, I want to talk about the longevity of the Hurricane. I followed the Hurricane on Twitter, at least I used to. I don't follow a lot of people on Twitter. But he would always kind of, whenever there was, say, a promotion or something, or a wrestler saying, hey, I'm looking for a challenge, or anything like that, the Hurricane would always respond and say, I know a guy, ... Right?
Yeah.
And so he's always kind of been out there. He was in the Royal Rumble. And I think that kind of helped him out when it came to the independents. He was, of course, in Impact for a long time. When you know that next Friday, Ring of Honor is doing a tour in Texas, the Hurricane is booked on that tour with Ring of Honor, and he's going to be at their TV taping on June 30th in Fairfax, Virginia. That guy, man, he just hustles and hustles and hustles and continues to eke out a living. Good for him. Good for the Hurricane.
Whether it's podcasting or being an agent, being a wrestler, any of that. When the Pro Wrestling Unlimited guys mentioned that to me, I was like, well, he always does that. Like, as he posts the teaser and stuff, I was like, that's something he always does. And I asked him about this. He's very proud of that. He's proud of the fact that he can say he wrestled for Ring of Honor, TNA, WCW, and WWE. Mm-hmm. And I even joked with him, technically ECW too, briefly. Mm-hmm. But I asked him about the Hurricane name. I was like, you can't use that, can you? And he goes, you'll have to wait and see. I was like, you can't use that name. You can't use Avalanche. John Tenta used that. You can't use Earthquake, Typhoon. He's got to be Tsunami Shane. Or like...
You don't think maybe the Hunter would just kind of be cool about it, no? Maybe?
Light Winds Helms.
Yeah, who knows?
It seems like
Hunter seems to be way more tolerant about that kind of stuff these days.
Yeah. And people ask a lot about the mask. The mask, I think, that he even wore at the Royal Rumble, that's one WWE doesn't really own the trademark to. He created that version of the mask, so he's able to do that.
And the belt.
But yeah, very happy to see Shane doing that. I'd love to interview him about that sometimes.
And considering that WCW went out of business 17 years ago, and he's continued, and I don't know how old he is now, but he's got to be in his early to mid-40s. Got to be. And he continues to eke out a living. Good for him. When I think about guys like that and guys like Tommy Dreamer that continue to eke out a living, like I respect those guys. That's a hustle, what those guys do.
He'll be 44 next month.
Okay. That's a hustle, man, what those guys do. I respect it.
I wonder what kind of schedule he's keeping. I mean, I know the guy is in pain because of that ankle injury. Like, he can't feel good. But yeah, I look at it. He had 4 bookings in July, a few in May, a few in April, a few in March. So he's still wrestling here and there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, with a lot of these guys, that's all they know.
Yeah, well, Shane, fortunately for him, is a very creative guy. He sees the bigger picture on things. Mm-hmm. I'm actually very surprised he hasn't been picked up by WWE yet to do agent work
Right.
or I mean, he's worked as a cruiserweight, a tag team wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked in a 6-man. He's worked as like virtually every way, comedic, serious, heel, face. There isn't a lot of things that Shane hasn't done,
Right.
even in WWE.
Well, with Matt and Jeff there, you never know. Maybe there's
That's
going to be a
very
path
true.
for him, right? So
It's very
that's
true.
all I got for you this week, man.
Guys, follow me at Shawn Ross Sapp. Follow Jimmy at JimmyVan74.
Yeah,
Go
and
to
we
Fightful Select.
got through a whole show without yelling at each other, Sean. I didn't call you a moron once.
You referenced it a few times.
Yeah, but that was to other people. And those who were deserving. There were stupid people stories. The guy threw his kids in a dryer. He deserved
That's
it.
very true. That's very true. The band from Fightful intro is up on YouTube.
Unauthorized,
Check it out, guys.
unsanctioned, unapproved.
But Jimmy will still keep the YouTube revenue from it. That's for damn sure.
I'll consider it.
Guys, thank you all so much. Hey, if you want to follow Nigel and Melissa on Twitter, at Nigel Loci and at IRL_tweener. I'm ashamed that she knows what that even means.
Oh, she knows.
Yeah. Well, have you seen her forum tag?
No.
Her forum tag is Melissa Banhammer wielding tweener.
Good for you.
It was
Well,
like
that
one
was-
of the first wrestling terms I learned working.
Good for
It
you.
was pretty clever. It was used right. Go to Fightful Select. We're doing Stupid People Extended. We are out.